I have personally found that I thrive in the more responsibility that I take on, the more diligent and the more deliberate I get with every minute of my day having a purpose, right? Where it's because what I found for me personally, and I realize this is all a very personal thing. Everybody's recovery is a very personal thing. But for me, not structuring my time was dangerous. Not structuring my time is dangerous for uh, for a lot of reasons. I get personally me, I get into my emotional brain. I definitely have an aversion to being uncomfortable or being in pain. And as most people do, but for me, that often leads to I will cut corners. I will go around things. We were talking before we started recording, the last couple months was a dirty bulk for me. And it's only because I let things get unmanageable in my life with maybe working a little too much on multiple projects and spreading myself a little too thin, but I wasn't structuring it around things. I wasn't doing this program. When I'm doing something like 75 hard, I'm able to see clearly. Whatever it is, it gives me enough structure around. I don't know if it's the consequence of having to go back and start over. But there's enough there that it focuses everything for me. Right. So it's become my philosophy. When I feel myself getting out of control in life in general, and I don't necessarily mean in terms of relapse at this point in my life, but who knows where it could go. If I were to let it, if I were to just completely let things go with the flow, without any real rhyme or reason, I don't know. So for me, I know when my life starts to get chaotic, the best way I know how to put it back together is to give it a name and give it some kind of structure, some kind of go back to the basics for me and back to a program, So, but I think adopting some sort of philosophy or ideology is part of that spiritual transcendence, right? In recovery, isn't it? Because you got to believe in something bigger than yourself.
Well, you don't have to, but it's certainly, in my experience, for me, and not just me, but all the people I've worked with and witnessed, it seems like it's very helpful to find something bigger than yourself, whatever that may be. Seems like it's really helpful. With what you're talking about right now, I resonate with that so much. I just went through a phase maybe a few months ago. For whatever reason, I got away from using my planner, and I was getting burned out with the planner anyways. It worked really well for me for several years. And I was a late bloomer when it came to time management and planning, that kind of stuff. So it was very helpful. And of course, I'd go through phases of it, but I was pretty consistent. Eventually, I don't know if I needed something new, but it's like, unless I got to a place where unless I had my planner out, like where I could see it and opened up on the exact page, then it was like, there's things places. And so I was like losing that habit, and I was finding that it wasn't fun filling it out every day. It was like, write this here, write this here. It was just kind of rigid. So now what I do is this has tripled or quadrupled my productivity, energy, fulfillment, and joy. As I have my whiteboard that a lot of people have seen in my background for months and months and months, probably more than a year, actually. Now you don't see it in the background because it's not blank. I ditched my planner. I mean, I still have it, but I haven't used my planner in months now. On my whiteboard, I go ballistic. At the very beginning of the day, I write the name of the day at the top, and I write everything small so I can fit a lot of stuff in. And I'll just go down and just put check boxes to the left and write all these things that, number one, that I have appointments for, clients, picking the kid up from school, anything that I definitely have to do at a certain time, I put that up there. Then all the stuff that I really want to get done, but I don't need to, I put that up there. Then I work in things for biopsychosocial, environmental, spiritual. So I'll be like, oh, I'm going to do, and I'll put an Epsom salt bath in there, and I'll put a nature walk later on. And then since it's right there, super big where I can see it, and since I got the different color markers to make it more fun, and since it's right there and I see it all the time when I'm going to the bathroom, going to my room to get something, and then I'll be like, oh, and I just got another idea, and there's so much room, I can just put it down there. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this right now, and I'll check it off. So every day it's like, and then you see yourself checking all the things off, and then you can put more things on. And then at the very bottom, there's a line. There's like the first top half is that's just the things for that day. Then there's a big line, and the whole bottom half, bottom 40%, 45% is things that, for some other day, maybe, a month from now. And so on that, I'm just like, oh, and I needed to get this done. Oh, I've had to get my car detailed for so long. And, oh, I want to check and research this for my bird, a GPS in case she flies away, all sorts of stuff. Clean Papaya's cage, get new tires for my car, learn from this book. And then I'll cross things off. Sometimes I can get one of those things done that's not even planned for this particular day, and I'll cross that off, and then I can erase it, and that'll give me room to put something else. I've probably tripled or quadrupled my productivity, passion, energy, and joy. If I don't, I'm like you, Zach. If I don't have something that's keeping me focused and motivated and on the ball and doing lots of responsibilities and also enjoying, having fun, not just grinding, but like fun stuff. And then I thrive just like you, how you have this structure and you have all these things that you're getting done and you know what they are. That's how I thrive too. I really believe that if somebody can really get that dialed in at the beginning, when they're quitting a substance, alcohol, outgrowing alcohol or drug addiction. I loved what you were saying, man. I can't agree more. To have some type of a routine, or even better yet, for a lot of people, if they're not to a place where they can hold themselves to a routine, do some type of accountability program like this that is so structured. There's positive reinforcement dialed in. There's negative punishment where you got to, and it makes it interesting. It's novel. There's, and I don't even know a lot about it, but it sounds phenomenal. There is really something to be said about adopting. And one of the things I love about Jordan Peterson is adopt more and more responsibility. When I wasn't getting to do my planner as much, when I just fell out of that habit, I'd find myself wasting a whole lot of time, not having as much energy. And I'd sit there and I'd be like, oh, what am I supposed to? I swear I've got ADHD. If I have organization of knowing what I have to do, I have like Adderall, but not Adderall type focus, right? It's like I'm on Adderall, but I'm not on Adderall. But if I don't have that structure, it's like I have total ADHD and I'll think about something. Oh, I want to do that. But then the thought goes away if I don't write it down. I'm all over the place without an organizational time management system that also is where you can put things on it that are compelling to you. It's like a compelling future, a compelling task. One of the quotes that Tony Robbins has said, I'm not sure if he came up with it, is nobody's lazy. People are not lazy. They just have impotent goals.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. Yeah. It's think about like when in active addiction or active use, it's a very fast-paced situation. It's obtaining, using, and recovering. And that's a very daunting and time-consuming task, right? In and of itself. But give or take some of the details, the idea of it's simple. I'm going to get this. I'm going to use it. I'm going to sit around while I'm high, but life, you end up with a lot of time, a lot of free time when you eliminate that, like there's just so much free time. So, but, back to some of the adversity, that coming out of especially in early recovery, when now you have all this time, but there's also, it's not like these things didn't need done when you were getting fucked up, right? Now the bills are behind, relationships are burned. There's all kinds of adversity that comes in early recovery especially for heavy hitter users. Maybe it's a living situation, transportation, occupational, right? Now there's health things. Maybe now you have to get yourself squared away health wise. Maybe you got to get rid of your Hep C for someone that's been IV drug using. There's all of these tasks, but I've seen countless people in early recovery don't do any of those things because they don't get organized in any way. They don't have any measure of accountability to or some way to manage these tasks. What happens, and I know what this is, when you know you have 10 or 12 different things you should probably be doing, but you don't have them organized in a way where you can have a plan, create some objectives, and execute on those things. If it's just bouncing around in your head, you'll go, okay, yeah, I could do that. I don't feel like doing that. I could do this. I don't feel like doing this. You know what? TikTok sounds good. And then, or maybe I'll just take a nap, or or relapse. It just becomes this thing where when you just allow these things to bounce around your head, because there is a lot, and especially so being able to develop a skill set to organize these things, because I can't stress enough. I just can't stress enough having a plan and again, creating some, like you said, creating some responsibility for yourself. And honestly, even in early recovery, I've seen the dichotomy of this. I've seen people do nothing, and I've seen people make leaps and bounds in a very short amount of time because they were open to having a plan. They were willing to do the uncomfortable work. Right. And that's the biggest thing is if you can figure out your plan with somebody. You don't have to do it alone. That's why you and I do the things that we do. They don't have to do it alone. And being able to work with someone and come up with a plan and then hold yourself to it. But understand that it's not just because you have a plan doesn't mean that it's easy either. It doesn't mean that there's probably not going to be other shit you'd rather do, so figuring out a way to, with that plan, figuring out a way to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. That's hard to do too.
Oh man.
Become comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's almost like a paradox, right? But it makes sense. It's like, okay, so you don't like to be in any distress. This was me for a long time. I hated distress, even a little bit of distress that other people seem to be able to deal with and let it bounce off them or roll off them like water on a duck. The slightest amount of distress would just, it was hard for me. So learning how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, that was a hard skill. But I mean, at the beginning, I had a lot of motivation to learn. A lot of it was Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer. And before, I didn't have any mentors. I wasn't reading books. I didn't have any mentors where they were kind of showing me that I could have an awesome life, that I really could. I had a fixed mindset. I didn't know that you could have a growth mindset. I had no idea. No one had ever taught me that. So that was probably one of the biggest limiting beliefs that I had to outgrow addiction and not relapse was, just expand my horizon. Wait, you mean I'm not fixed? I can improve myself. I can get smarter. I can learn more things. That was revelation to me. And it was just so crazy. But at the very beginning, I was going to school part-time to become a drug and alcohol counselor. That was really interesting and exciting. I had a lot of responsibility. Then I had an internship. I was a dad, so that's a lot of responsibility. And I was doing a bunch of stuff for my parents around the house to like earn my place there. I was being a bum there for so long, just doing drugs for like 6-8 months, just So I was like, okay, I got to make up for it. And then I joined a gym and my friends and I would like work out together. So yeah, the more responsibilities I had like that and paying these bills and getting on top of shit, the more responsibility I had and the more I fulfilled those responsibilities, the better I felt about myself, the better I felt about the direction I was going, the more people I was helping as a result of that responsibility. That really installs kind of as a catalyst for a positive success cycle versus when you were saying when people have the anti-routine in early recovery. Zach, every time I ever had any recovery, when I didn't have a routine, hanging out with my buddies, oh, let's go surf, and oh, let's go get some breakfast burritos. What's the weather? Oh, let's just watch a movie. How every day there was not much planned to do, just kind of whatever the wind takes me or whatever I either feel like doing or don't feel like doing. You said that book, Fuck Your Feelings. I listened to that on Audible. I think that was the title. You brought up essentialism too, which is really interesting because that's the book, and I read that one. That's the book that started off my whole kind of minimalism, digital, and essential. It was that book that you talked about. That one, and I did a few others too, but that really changed my life. So that's cool that you brought that up. It's very helpful. But how do you outgrow alcoholism or drug addiction? Outgrow irresponsibility, outgrow procrastination, outgrow limiting beliefs, outgrow a kind of old faulty character and mindset, outgrow judgment, self-judgment, outgrow your judgment of others, and trade that for self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others, radical forgiveness, not learn to forgive, just drop shit. Life's too short. Outgrow your crappy diet, outgrow your limited knowledge of nutrition, if that's something. Outgrow your need to be right and win the argument in a relationship versus you can be right or you can be in love. Outgrow the need to win the argument, and you can be in love or you can be right. I used to argue a lot, and I used to love winning with the girlfriends that I had. Like, I showed that chick. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I showed her, but you're not in love anymore. It's like the love's gone, your ego won, but love lost. So outgrowing the need to just identify with that little slimy, slippery, cunning. What's cunning, baffling, and powerful is the ego, man. That thing, and to see, and then to have periods where you tame it or even transcend it for a while, and then to notice when it creeps back up, and it's like, oh, that feels like shit, or you don't even notice it for a few days. So many things to outgrow.